The Sun Devils might not have a lot of wins to celebrate, but there is some things to be celebrated. And we're going to talk about it on this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Thanks, as always, for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. And, of course, a shout-out to my everydayers who are here every day. Wherever you get your podcast, make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content Monday through Friday. Stay in touch with the content by following me on Twitter. You can find me at RichieBrads36 and the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. Look, this is starting off as a rough year, right? We're 1-3. Your first win was against Southern Utah. Your only win against Southern Utah. And it was a lot closer than you would hope it was. 24-21 final. There was a 2.5-hour rain delay. It was a rough game by all accounts. But then you look at the rest of the year, right? You lose a close one to Oklahoma State. Definitely one you should have won, but you were shut out in the second half. You lose to Fresno State and you're shut out for the entire game. And then you get to USC where you lose the game ultimately, but there was a lot of progress and it was a much closer game than people were going to think it was. So definitely some things to celebrate there. But all in all, finding things to celebrate in a 1-3 season to start the year, not going to be easy to do. But that's what we're here today to discuss is like, these are the things that we should be talking more about. These are the things that we need to be happy about. These are the things that deserve more attention. That's what we're here for. If you're on YouTube, you can see on the right-hand side of your screen the 3 things that I want to celebrate. We're going to go into detail with them, and we're going to go ahead and start with this next man up mentality. The Sun Devils have been devastated with injuries this year, consistently losing starters. The offensive line has been decimated. The quarterback situation has obviously been banged up. They're losing important players. CJ Fight had missed a handful of games. He's back now. We're still missing Montana Warren. Hopefully when he gets back, he'll be able to make an impact. Like, there have been a lot of injuries across this roster that have really started to slow down the team. And, you know, maybe if you have a handful of those guys, some of the games swing a little differently. I don't know. But the Sun Devils have been able to figure it out. And it's a testament to Kenny Dillingham that they've been able to find a way to at least stay in games short of that Fresno State game. Like, they were neck and neck with Oklahoma State in that first half, and they should have won. They just couldn't figure it out in the second half. And look against USC, and like, man, a lot of people thought that they had no business being in that game, but yet here they are finding a way to stay stroke for stroke with USC. They really were never significantly getting beat down by the Trojans, in spite of the fact that it's 10 times as talented a roster as what the Sun Devils have. They are finding ways to be able to step up. There's a lot of shuffling that's going on. The offensive line especially is one of the units that's been hit, and you can tell. I mean, there's definitely some plays where you're like, yeah, this isn't a good unit. But there's also been some guys that have been able to step up and be quality players for the team. Bram Walden has definitely been up and down. I've been hyping him up. I think that he's going to be able to figure it out. I think that he's probably your left tackle of the future, but cross that bridge when you get to it. Losing him at Bully has been tough. Along the interior, you've had guys moving around like Joey Ramos. First of all, was playing with a club on his hand because of an injury, but he's been at right tackle and right guard. Like, they're shuffling guys around. Lee Fontano has stepped it up at center. It's been a very difficult situation, but they're finding ways to be able to adapt. And don't get me wrong, it's still a rough unit. It's in progress, but it could be worse, is pretty much my stance on it. The quarterback position, It's been tough, but you're starting to see guys at least step up a little more. I think that Bourget was playing okay prior to him getting injured. Obviously, that injury really took away any chance that we could see how he bounced back from an early game interception. He gets to play this week. He'll be the starter this week. Drew Pine is once again injured. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Who knows what's going to go on there? But Drew Pine, also a guy who started to settle down a little bit. Against Fresno State, he had 4 turnovers and 5 drives. He was able to kind of figure it out a little bit more this past weekend. Only committed 2 turnovers. Did take some sacks, but he made some big time throws too. I think that you see that kind of positive progression, and that's where you kind of want to sit with how you have to constantly shuffle guys in and out. And then you've had guys that have been able to step up in that absence, like DeCarlos Brooks, one of the running backs, has been missing for the last 2 weeks. But Cameron Scadaboo has stepped up in his place and been the bell cow running back. And you've had Kyson Brown has also been a really steady performer for the team. You get those guys to be able to pick up the slack that was dropped by DeCarlos Brooks getting injured, and hopefully he's back sooner rather than later so you can get back to where you were. But you got to be happy with the guys that are stepping up in the meantime. You're figuring it out. The receivers have obviously been very helpful. The tight ends have been helpful. Defensively, it's been a lot of like ticky-tacky stuff. Like missing Clayton Smith has definitely sucked. You have, in the meantime, had Prince Dorbaugh step up, and he has 3.5 sacks, which leads the team in Smith's absence. Like, that's about as big a step up as you're going to find. Along the interior, you were missing CJ Fight to start the year. You were missing Anthony Cooper for the first 3 games, but Deshaun Mallory played very well along the interior. Sam Benjamin and Tristan Monday put up their best efforts. Like, you're just dealing with injuries, but you still have these guys that are coming out and showing off what they can possibly do for your team. You have to be happy with that, and hopefully that's going to be a continued trend for this team to see them still be able to step up when they need to, because football is a very punishing sport. It's constantly going to be handing you out injuries. As Coach Dillingham has said, nobody cares. Nobody's going to feel bad for you. So you need to find a way to be able to adjust, adapt, and move forward with the injuries. I would say for the most part, it hasn't been a perfect unit, but got to give them credit. They've definitely embraced that next man up mentality for the team. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. I know that people are really stressed out when they're trying to get tickets to their favorite events, and you can't find those last minute tickets, and there's no good deals, and there's just so much stress that goes into it. You shouldn't have to worry about buying the tickets for your next big event, because Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with last-minute ticket deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the seat that you want before you buy it and make sure that's exactly the view that you want before you arrive at the event. All-in price shows you the total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal without any hidden fees. You can buy the tickets in 2 seconds with just 2 taps. And the best part is it stays on your phone, so you don't have to dig through your email to find it. With Zone Deals, you can pick the section, and the Game Time picks the best seats for an average of 18% on your savings. And that guarantee means that if you get tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Once again, wherever you get your podcasts, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications. And if you want the best content for college football, you need to check out the College Football Kickoff Live every Friday, where Locked On will go live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live will cover playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. I promise it's the best content you're going to find. Going into our next celebratory for Sun Devils football this year, it's the penalty reduction. During the Herm Edwards era, during the Todd Graham era, during the Dennis Erickson era, this has been a team that just racks up penalties. Like very undisciplined football, whether it's the personal fouls, whether it's the ticky-tacky stuff like the pass interference, the false starts, the holdings, whatever it is. And in week 1 against Southern Utah, felt like this is going to be the same old song and dance. They committed 9 penalties in that game. It was atrocious. However, over the last 3 weeks, the Sun Devils have allowed, or committed, I should say, just 10 penalties. So you give up 9 in the first week. And after that, you're only averaging 3 a game. That is quite the improvement. And what that's telling me is that the way that Kenny Dillingham is teaching these kids, the way that Kenny Dillingham is placing all of this energy, this time and effort into getting these guys to play better, cleaner football is working. You want to see that positive progression. This is exactly where you need to be as a football program because those penalties just add up after a while. First of all, it clouds that mentality of wanting to be a good football player because you're constantly committing those penalties and those mistakes, and they just add up and drives get extended and it just boils over. Guys get frustrated and it just adds and adds and adds. But when you're playing this clean football, this helps you have that clearer mindset. This helps you to understand where you need to be, what you need to do, how you need to do it. This also really just plays into the game, right? Against USC, the Sun Devils played one of the cleanest games that I can remember for the team in their history. They only gave up 4 penalties. They gave up 4 penalties in that game. However, USC on the other side of it gave up 10 penalties compared to 4 penalties for the Sun Devils. And the 4 penalties yielded 26 yards to USC, and the 10 penalties from the Trojans yielded 85 yards to the Sun Devils. That is such a drastic discrepancy between those two. You have to be ecstatic with the progression that you're having. It is so good to see that this is a team that is going to minimize those mistakes. Because when you are consistently setting yourself behind the chains, whatever else, you're giving up penalties on third downs that would have taken your defense off the field. Whatever situation you can think of. This is just a really good step forward that shows that your team is going to consistently be competitive, but also play cleaner football. It's not what we're accustomed to seeing. It's not what we're used to seeing. So we need to celebrate it. We need to be happy with the fact that this is a team that is trying to move past those old demons that we were used to seeing in previous head coaches. Got to take it. Got to be really happy with it. Hopefully this is a continued trend for the Sun Devils, but the bottom line here is that it's not getting talked about enough. I really wish that we did talk about this a lot more because it's just not what we're accustomed to seeing. So I hope that you guys are taking notice because it's definitely been one of the things that I have noticed with this team. Look, getting the convenience for what you want and getting it to your door shouldn't be difficult. But DoorDash with their grocery delivery can help you stock up for the week and order last-minute cravings consistently. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy the quality groceries you like picked up and get them for yourself. Want even more value? You can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and best in class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to $20 value when you use code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20 minimum total and delivery and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONCollege. Don't forget, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. One last time, wherever you get those podcasts, like, subscribe, turn on notifications for your daily Arizona State Sun Devils podcast. All right. The last celebration. I have hinted at it throughout the podcast where I was talking about the next man up, where I was talking about the penalties. But as a whole, through 4 weeks, you were seeing this team get better and better each week. And I know that some people might be looking at me like, Richie, how can that be possible? They went from a win in week 1 to 3 consecutive losses, and they were shut out over six consecutive quarters during that stretch. How are they getting better? Let me explain. The Sun Devils are finding a way to be able to get a groove with each other. They're working together. They are bringing out the best in each other. When you have those guys that are consistently bringing each other up, it's going to make you a better football team. That's where the Sun Devils have been able to step up. You have these guys that are playing with a team mentality. And this has been especially important when I mentioned earlier that next man up mentality. Because having those injuries just really derails a season for you. But when you have guys that are playing with the chemistry, that are playing with the passion and playing with the trust that they have in their teammates, you're going to find ways to be more competitive than if you weren't figuring that out. Look at the offensive side of the football. With the offensive line struggling as much as it has because of injuries, whatever have you, they're still finding a way to remain competitive. They're still finding a way to at least give a full effort. Hasn't been perfect. There have been some rough games. There were 8 sacks against USC. It happens, especially against just quality teams that aren't dealing with the injuries that the Sun Devils are. But they're figuring it out. It could be a lot worse if they just weren't finding a way to lift each other up. You have leaders like Jordan Clark that come over and are vocal guys, right? But they also lead by example. Jordan Clark is both of those. And not just for the defensive side of the football, it's for the offense too. I remember in week 1, he was talking about the struggles that the offense was having against Southern Utah. But the defense was able to help get Southern Utah's offense off the field to give the Sun Devils more opportunities. And Jordan Clark would go up to the offense and he said, "Don't worry. We got you guys. We got you. We got you. We're going to get you guys. We're going to help out. We're going to do whatever we can." When you have guys like that that are bringing up the team morale, that are willing to help out both sides of the football, you can't ask for anything more than that. You're seeing those leadership qualities out of these guys. Jalen Conyers has consistently been one of the guys that has been able to rally the troops. Elijah Badger is a guy who leads by example. Deshaun Mallory, guy who leads by example. Ro Torrance leads by example. When you have these guys that are building those leadership qualities, you can't ask for much more. But then you look at the coaching staff too. Look at what Kenny Dillingham is establishing with this team. Look at how he's bringing everybody up around him. He's telling these guys, these are your brothers. He's giving them opportunities to bond with each other. Camp T was so huge for these guys because they hadn't done it in a minute. But yet, Kenny Dillingham reestablishes going up to Tonto Zona, having the kids take away their video games, take away their cell phones, whatever. Having them play with the deck of cards, having them play with the football, basketball, whatever. Giving them those chances to build those bonds, that brothership or brotherhood, the friendship, all of it. This is where you have to be happy, the most happy with the Sun Devils. Yeah, they're 1-3 on the year. There's been some tough losses. There's been some very frustrating and infuriating moments, but they're making moves forward. You compare the team this year to last year, it's a night and day difference, both from a play standpoint, but also from a mentality standpoint. These guys don't feel sorry for themselves. They're working every week to be better. And that's what Kenny Dillingham has instilled. Nobody cares. Nobody feels bad for you. That's where you're at. When you have everyone bought into that mentality, you're going to see that progress move forward. And that's exactly what we've seen with these Sun Devils. These are the celebrations that I have. You have other things too. You've seen Elijah Badger start to take those steps forward. You've seen Cameron Scadaboo become a bell cow. You've seen the pass rush start to come alive, like BJ Green and Prince Dorbaugh. Secondary's playing well. Special teams is quality. There's plenty to celebrate. These are the three things that I think deserve the most attention beyond the statistics. But what are you guys celebrating with the Sun Devils this year? Let me know in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrads36 or the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. But as always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. Stay in touch with that content again by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. That's all that I got for you guys today. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun.